Goodness. Hello, everybody. Kay Crystal Griffith here. Welcome to Emotions, Wisdom, and Your Body. You know, there are some things that you just start laughing and you can't stop for. Every day for 2021, we are going to come together for around 15 to 20 minutes, and we are going to delve deeper into our emotions, wisdom from them, and our body, how they are affected by our emotions. Emotions are our body's wisdom if we listen to it. So today, just want to remind you, I am not a doctor. I do not play one on TV or any social media platform. What I am is a researcher, and I worked as a trauma coach for about 6 years, and man, those emotions wreak havoc sometimes. Today's, we want to share with you a fun one. We want to talk about joy. Joy. You know, ASL, joy. Joy is a feeling of intense, ecstatic, celebratory, or exuberant happiness or great pleasure. The emotion is evoked by well-being, success, good fortune, and the prospect of possessing what one desires. It could also be a state of mind or an orientation of the heart. It is a settled state of contentment, confidence, and hope. It is something or someone that provides a source of happiness. Joy that's provided by a source of happiness. So they're not the same thing. We're going to get to that. You will hear about joy over 88 times in the Old Testament and at least 57 times in the New Testament. When we come to double digits like that, we should pay attention to those words in the word, right? So let's talk a little bit about the difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is merely eternal. Happiness is not eternal. It's fleeting. It's only achievable on this earth. Joy, on the other hand, is internal, selfless, sacrificial, and a spiritual connection with God, eternal. And so in essence, having God or Jesus within you means we have a constant source of joy. That joy, it's kind of like that peace. If we have Jesus in us, then we have the Prince of Peace in us at all times, right? To overwhelm the chaos around us. The same is true for joy. Now, the difference is we allow that joy within us all the time. And there's my daughter talking to me on our poor Alexa. And we can't talk to her right now. Don't you love live events, guys? We'll work on somebody to edit that out. All right. So within us, we have that constant joy, whereas the circumstances around us may shift or change, which means the state of happiness changes. But our joy, Jesus within us, does not. So is it negative or positive? Absolutely positive. We feel joy in our neurotransmitters, which are these tiny little chemical messengers. They're cells that transmit signals between the neurons and the nerves and other body cells. There is a release of hormones responsible for strengthening the immune system. So joy works to our benefit. So more joy means a better immune system. So we need to have more joy, right? To combat all the chaos that's around us as well. Right? So joy promotes a healthier lifestyle. It fights stress and pain and supports longevity. So have you ever seen some of those crabby old men? I've seen crabby old women too. You know, some of them seem to live forever, don't they? And it kind of do completely opposite of what we just said. Joy supports longevity. But you know, I think some people are just too stubborn to just have joy in their life. You ever met those people? We feel joy in our bodies because of the release of dopamine and serotonin, two types of neurotransmitters in the brain. And both of those chemicals are heavily associated with happiness. And in fact, people with clinical depression often have lower levels of serotonin. Now, I will be the first to admit, I love my serotonin. And I will take it if I know I have a more intense day where I really have to focus more and I have to be able to find my words faster, because with that TBI stuff going on, sometimes when I get tired or I didn't have a good night's sleep, my brain is like lagging a little bit. So I have some serotonin that I use, and it really does the trick. I will tell you, it's pretty cool. So when something you perceive as happy happens, your brain receives the signal to release those chemicals, the happy chemicals, into your central nervous system, which consists of your brain and your spinal cord. So then think about that. So if that dopamine and those neurotransmitters, serotonin, are released out of your brain, it goes into your brain and your spinal cord. It then feeds out to all of those nerve endings coming off of your spinal cord, which in fact affects your entire body. So this then causes other reactions in other body systems, like your circulatory system, which consists of your heart, your veins, your blood vessels, your lymph nodes. And of course, joy isn't the only emotion that affects that system. You can also have some of the other ones we've talked about, like fear or sadness. Other emotions can cause those reactions. Smiling is kind of a cool way to trick your brain. So I know you guys have all heard it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile, right? I don't know. I'm thinking if you smile, you get bigger light coming through, you have more joy in your heart. And guess what a smile can do for someone else? Change their whole day. Like, I kind of went on a little quest and I decided to smile at every single person that I could in one day. And guess what? It's really rare to smile at people and not get a smile back. Now, we have this whole mask thing going on. I wear a face shield so they can still see my smile. So I still smile. And here's the cool thing. I can tell when people are smiling back, their eyes change. And so I'm just going to encourage you, even with your mask on, smile, because it lights up your whole face. And that smiling can trick your brain and elevate your mood. So it's kind of a win-win, right? You're giving somebody else a good thing, and then you're getting a good thing in return as well. It lowers your heart rate, it reduces your stress, and the smile doesn't have to be based on real emotion. Because guess what? It's one of the few things that you can fake, and it works really well. That's by Dr. Samuel. So other autonomic aspects, they also include pleasure, including if you are joyful, you have an increase in pleasure within your whole body, releasing those chemicals, but it also means you have more salivation in your mouth. So joy, that's why you tend to sweat a little more too. So it's not always about the fear, but you're in that joyful moment, right? And body temperature could elevate, and even your metabolism can increase. So if you have more joy going in your heart and you know that you're joyful, you know who Christ is within you, and you're enjoying that moment with him, holy moly, that metabolism can go through the roof. That's pretty good for those of us over 40. We need all the metabolism help we can get, right? So any type of an emotional arousal can also affect your smooth muscles. And that is the walls of your hollow organs, like your stomach, your intestines, and your bladder. So these involuntary muscles are responsible for things like blood flow and the movement of your food through your digestive tract. So those moments that you're eating dinner with somebody and they become stressful, that's not good for your digestive tract. So we should keep that conversation at dinner and when you eat in a way that creates joy, happiness, gratitude, because you're going to digest your food better. So that also could mean on Thanksgiving, you might want to make sure you're watching the team that's winning if you watch football on that day, or you could have a slight stomach ache afterwards. This is why also your appetite kind of revs up or it slows down based on what you're feeling with your emotions. Now, can one have too much joy? Perhaps as you watch this broadcast, you're like, it is 9:30 at night and that woman has way too much energy. I had somebody tell me the other day, I really need to stop taking my vitamins. I have to laugh. I think a good belly laugh can make all the wonders in the world of a difference for shifting your mood. And here's the thing. There is so much chaos that happens in my life. I have no other option at times but to laugh. You literally can't do anything but laugh. I just got off the phone call with somebody and we were having a good old time because the little child that she loves and her son, he decided to poop everywhere. She was getting her belly laugh in. Let me tell you, she's like, oh my gosh, Crystal, I could not believe all the places it was. Yes, those children, they find places. So sometimes we just have to laugh, right? So, well, how do we really need countermeasures to joy? Well, I think it's more the idea of how do we walk in it better? How do we allow that joy to infiltrate our entire life as much as possible? Because the fact is, life happens and it's not always joyful. And in fact, there are some times where it's downright painful. And I had another friend today who lost her mom, and that's a painful event. And so how do we help people who are walking through the pain and the chaos of what life might be throwing at them and be able to help them regenerate joy within their life? And so here's some ideas. To create joy, ultimately, it's about Jesus. It's seeking him. It's having this BFF relationship with him. That's best friends forever relationship. If you have a child, it's BFF or besties. It's connecting with him as you would your absolute closest friends. And it's not just sitting at his feet to be mentored by him and gaining the wisdom by him, but it really is asking him to enter into a conversation with you. One of the most amazing little workbooks that I did was called Eyes to See and Ears to Hear. And it really helps guide you. It's by Jennifer Toledo. It really helps guide you in how you can hear from God and how you can practice that and how you can really work that muscle of hearing, of active listening from him. So then it just becomes instantaneous. And so one of the things she has us do in that workbook is ask God some questions. What's his favorite color? What's his favorite game? Where's his favorite place on the planet? What does he think about all our national parks that he created here? Why did he make them so radically different? Like, really have some conversation with him and you are going to get answers. I know it sounds crazy, but you will. And at first you're going to go, oh, I just made that up in my head. And I'm here to tell you, no, you didn't. And that's the cool thing. The more you hone into it, the bigger and deeper and more effective your muscle becomes at knowing him instantaneously. So when I was a bank teller, the best thing that they did to teach us how to tell the difference between a real bill, a $100 bill, and a counterfeit one was, anybody know? To pay attention to the real one. We didn't look at the counterfeits. We didn't feel them. We didn't touch them. We didn't do anything. We became absolute masters at being able to touch, feel, and see a $100 bill and know like that whether or not it was counterfeit. We couldn't have told you what was off, but we had dealt with enough real ones that we knew something was wrong with that one. And that's all we needed because we became intuitive to it. We listened to it. We were watching it. We were feeling it. And as you were feeling the grain of it and the weight of it and how it crisped and what you could hear out of it. I mean, there were a lot of pieces to it. And from that, we knew the truth. And the same thing is true about that joy within our heart. How do we know whether or not we're just faking it or not? Because we're in relationship with our best friend up there, right? And we're getting to know him. We're getting to know his voice, and we know his voice like the back of our hand. And well, some people know their back of hand, but we know him faster than anything that we can do. And we're going to hear his voice and we're going to know it just like that. And so that takes practice. Just like me playing with the dollar bills, right? All right, so the other piece to this is to create happiness. Why are we creating happiness if we have joy? Well, because we still want to walk in happiness. We still know that we have the joy of the Lord within us. That doesn't change, right? But the fact is the circumstances out here change in a heartbeat, on a dime, right? And so to create these pieces of happiness that we can have control within our control, I should say, we want to just remember that that happiness is temporal, it's circumstantial. But if we have that joy connection first, we're connected with our BFF, then asking your BFF, hey, what's on our agenda today? That invites the happiness. That's a co-collaboration with him. And that is always an adventure. Man, the adventures he has taken me on, I cannot even begin to process with you. Like our last trip. Holy moly. He is my navigator and he's your navigator. And why do we want him as our navigator? Through our daily happiness piece. Because he already knows your best plan. He knows you better than you know yourself, right? He knows all the hidden places. He knows what you're forward with him. He knows what you're struggling with and what you're walking through and what the painful parts are. So he is going to set up your day for exactly what you need. And sometimes it's unexpected. Like, why did you do this, Lord? Like today of all days, why would you have done that? And yet in the moment, we might not understand it. But when we come out of it, you're more like, oh, I get it now. I understand why that happened. And so you're able to begin to see it once sometimes you're through it. But that is a part of our trust walk as well. Like, wouldn't you put a blindfold on with your best friend and allow your best friend to lead you into somewhere? No. That does take a lot of trust for some of our best friends, right? But I would do it. I know my best friend, and I know she would probably push me into a pool too, right? But I'm okay with that because I still trust her. I might not see it coming, but I still trust her. And so it's the same thing with the Lord. I might not see what's coming, but I trust him, and I know he has the best plans for my life, even as this chaos might not be compatible to what I'd like it to be. So let's talk about one other thing because it sets us up for our word tomorrow. So we've talked about joy, we've talked about happiness. Let's talk about gratitude for just a moment because we're going to delve into it tomorrow. Gratitude is another perfect option to enhance joy and happiness. And I so appreciate my friend today because as she was grieving, she began to post these videos of her mom, and she was 83. And she posted one of her at 82 just last year doing kickboxing. Like, that is amazing. And it brings a smile to your heart to be able to see her in that moment of just enjoying her life. And so, sometimes we don't always understand what we're walking through, but even in that circumstance where our happiness out here has shifted, our joy has not. And the fact is, that young lady is seeing her maker right now, face to face. And that is the ultimate joy right there. It's a loss for us here, but ultimate joy for her. And we get to see them again. And so I just want to encourage you, remember, your joy does not move. It does not shift. You have Jesus, it's there. This out here might shift, but this never does. So here are a couple of verses for you. Romans 14:17, for the kingdom of God is not a matter of eating or drinking, but of righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Spirit. Romans 15:13, may the God of all hope fill you with joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with the hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Psalm 16:11, you will make known to me the path of life. In your presence is the fullness of joy, and in your right hand are the pleasures forevermore. So how are you going to use this new information about joy versus happiness? What you always have, what's eternal, what's temporary, what can shift, what never does, and what sees you through, right? So how are you going to use that joy? So here are your 3 questions. How has joy been showing up in your life? Has it been negative? Has it been positive? And why? I'm going to add, has there been a lack of joy in your life? And if so, let's talk about it. Ping me. Send me a link and I will send you my calendar because I would love to chat more with you on that one. Now, how can you transform your joy? By wisdom, to gain more joy, to go deeper, to take it to a level that maybe you never even thought possible in 2021 and beyond. So through that wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, how are you going to use your joy? So don't forget, take your scriptures and put your name in there, personalize them because he wrote them just for you. Go live. I'd love to hear what your most unexpected thing that you've heard today about joy is. And tomorrow's word, I gave you a heads up, is gratitude. And this is a really cool emotion and what it can absolutely radically do to your life. So join us again tomorrow on more emotions, wisdom, and your body. Register at kcrystalgriffith.com to receive more insights and your feelings wheel. And we will be back for more tomorrow. You guys have a blessed day. Bye.